ADOS community, the Democrats are trying to replace you. Okay? We learned in my last video that the Democrats are favoring illegal immigrants having the right to vote in local elections. Okay? You know, you think about DACA, how Obama's dumbass, you know, allowed protections on the children of illegal immigrant parents, how they have protections under the law. But in 8 years, you ain't got shit from him. But he does more for illegal immigrants than he does for his own people. Okay? These illegal immigrants are coming over in huge numbers. Why? Because the Democrats see them as voters. Okay? The Hispanics are the new minority majority. They pass blacks. So it's a numbers game. And the Democrats know this. So the long-term goal is to replace black people and the black vote with these illegal immigrants. And the Democrats are complicit. They're trying to replace you, black people. ADOS. And that is no more true and no more pronounced than in the 2020 presidential campaign. Okay? I have an article that I found on foxnews.com. It's about your boy Bernie I ain't for reparations Sanders. You know, Phil the Burn, right? Okay? I never liked Bernie Sanders. Okay? Some of you, like him because of his rhetoric about being a democratic socialist and talking about free healthcare for everybody, right? But Bernie Sanders is a Jew. Okay? And if you do your history on the Jewish people and how they were involved in the civil rights movement, it wasn't for the freedom and civil liberties of ADOS or black or native blacks. It was for their own selfish ambition and political advantages. And that's Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders marched with Dr. King, quote unquote. But he wasn't there for the civil liberties of black people. He was there for himself. Okay? And now he can use the excuse that, oh, I'm not racist because I marched with Dr. King. I was involved in the civil rights movement. But do your research on the Jews and how they influenced and infiltrated the civil rights movement and how now the majority of Jews run the NAACP. The majority of Jews are league owners in the NFL and the NBA. And meanwhile, blacks are still struggling in poverty. Blacks are still impoverished. Blacks still don't have powers, yet the Jews were involved in the civil rights movement, and now look at them. They ain't helping your ass. And that's Bernie Sanders for you. I never liked him. I always thought he was an opportunist. All right? The article is titled New Spokeswoman for Bernie Sanders Won't Be Able to Vote for Him in 2020. She's an illegal immigrant. The subtitle is Beleen Siza, whatever the hell her name is. A millennial Arizona left-wing activist joined Bernie Sanders' 2020 presidential campaign this week. She shared a photo with Sanders from 2015 on her Facebook page. Let's delve into the article. Bernie Sanders' newest deputy national secretary won't be able to cast a vote for her boss in the 2020 presidential election. And why is that? That's because Beleen Siza, a millennial Arizona left-wing activist who joined the Democrat staff this week, claims to be an undocumented immigrant who is protected under the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, which is DACA. Thank you so much, Obama. You fucking asshole. You did nothing for your people in 8 years of your presidency. You ain't do shit, but yet you'll do shit for illegal immigrants, the children of people that didn't do the right thing, that broke the law, that snuck across the border. Okay? You praise them and call them innocent kids, but you call black people thugs. You always wag your finger and play daddy or a parental role or a parental persona to black youth, but yet for the youth of parents that are criminals and broke the law, you give them protections, asshole. Thanks, Obama. Furthermore, she says, this is really emotional for me. I can't help but think of 18-year-old Beleen, who felt helpless and powerless to the anti-immigrant attacks and policies that were holding her back from her dreams. There are a lot of American children with dreams, Democrats. There are a lot of native-born Americans that have dreams. Native-born black Americans that have dreams. That were brought to this country without their own will, against their own will, whose parents were brought over to this country against their own will, forced into slavery, and their children grew up out of that lineage. They came over here with out of no fault of their own. So what about them? What about the black American citizen? What about the American youth? Why are we bringing all these immigrants over here? I'm telling you, the reason why they're doing it, ADOS, is to replace us. Okay? That's the long-term goal. Like I said, it's a numbers game. There's more Hispanic immigrants than they are blacks. So what are they going to do? They're going to shift their focus on them because there's more of them than us. So they're going to give them civil rights and voting rights. Shit that they never earned. Shit that they never worked for. They're just going to give it to them. Why? Because they see votes. And instead of fixing the problems in the black community, the original builders of this country that built this country for free, they find it more politically advantageous, more politically convenient, more politically expedient to ignore us and replace us. And that is personified in Bernie Sanders' choice. Bernie Sanders is a typical politician. He's using this DACA recipient to get more votes. This is what the Democrats' ploy is, ADOS. All right. So she wrote on her Facebook recalling her younger self as she announced her new job. Fuck out of here. I can't help but think of the generations of sacrifice of my family has had to do for me to get here. Talking about sacrifice. This bitch don't know anything about sacrifice. What does she know about sacrifice? If you want to talk about sacrifice, let's talk about the people in the civil rights movement. Let's talk about these people that stood for others, that stood for their people. If we want to talk about sacrifice, we need to talk about Dr. King. We need to talk about Malcolm X. We need to talk about Medgar Evers, the people that really sacrifice. That through the civil rights movement, it led to the civil rights movement, the Civil Rights Act. It led to the Immigration Act of 1965, which allowed immigrants to come into this country, allowed immigrants to immigrate here. Okay? See, these illegal immigrants have no knowledge of history. They have no knowledge. She talks about the sacrifice that her parents have made. No, your parents broke the law and brought you here illegally. That is no sacrifice. But a real sacrifice is Dr. King standing for his people, inevitably being assassinated. That's true sacrifice. Malcolm X standing for his people, inevitably got assassinated. Medgar Evers standing up, having the balls to stand up and speak to white supremacy, inevitably being assassinated. Your parents don't know shit about sacrifice. You're just coming over here taking advantage of unearned benefits that you didn't fight for. And now Bernie Sanders is elevating her to a position of power and influence to speak on complex issues that she don't know shit about. What does she know about Jim Crow? What does she know about segregation? What does she know about slavery? What does she know about income inequality? She don't know shit about these issues. But Bernie Sanders is a fucking opportunist. That's all he is. I digress. The activist who previously went viral in 2017 after posting a photo of herself paying taxes in an effort to change people's perceptions about illegal immigrants, repeatedly said she was brought into the country illegally by her parents from Argentina when she was merely 6 years old. Posting a fucking picture of her paying taxes. I can't go into this article anymore, man. She posted a fucking picture of her paying taxes. Why don't you post a picture of your parents being sprayed with water hoses? Why don't you post a picture of your parents marching for voting rights? Why don't you post a picture of your parents getting dogs sicked on them, biting the breast off of young black women? Why don't you post a picture of that? Why don't you post a picture of your parents being spat upon? Post a picture of that. Post a picture of your ancestors laying in a casket because they stood for their people. Why don't you post a picture of that? ADOS, the point of this video is the Democrats in America is trying to replace you. You built this country. The political system was built off of your ancestors, our ancestors. Everything you see in this country, the beautiful land, Las Vegas, LA, all of these beautiful cities were built off of your hand. Yet, they're trying to replace you. After you fought in every war since the inception of this country. Since your hand of labor, your blood and sacrifice of our ancestors contributed to society. Yet, they're trying to replace you with these fucking Johnny-come-lately illegal fucking immigrants. That's why we got to come together. That's why we got to unite. That's why we got to build our own political party, because these politicians don't give a shit about you. That's why I'm not saying that you got to be a Trump supporter. I'm not saying don't vote for the, at all. But don't vote for the fucking Democrats. You should support Donald Trump's illegal immigration policy. I support the wall. I support mass deportations of illegal immigrants. Why? Because they are trying to replace us with these illegals. That's the bottom line. So I'm going to post the link to this article in the description box. If you are not mad about this, something's wrong with you, ADOS. We built this country. We built it. And now the Democrats don't want to address our issues because we're waking up. We're asking questions like, why are these illegal immigrants getting sanctuary cities? Why are they getting the right to vote when we had to fight for it? When we had to march for it? They're not earning their way. They should be at the back of the line when it comes to benefits and social advancement. Okay? But they're trying to replace us. Okay? So make sure you like this video. Make sure you share. Make sure you comment, because y'all smart as shit. I be reading y'all comments, man. Y'all are smart as shit. Make sure y'all comment. Let me know what y'all think. Okay? I appreciate all the love. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. And as always, thank you for allowing me to share my views. Have a good evening. One love.